So, Twitter. Twitter has gone through a few things for the past couple of days. And I don't know, I've never really been part of Twitter like that. I've always been the person who looks into the memes and the people who say that I want to impregnate this person and then I want the person to impregnate me. I'm on that side of Twitter. I'm not on the side that does all the drama and the doom posting, I guess you can call that. But it has come to my attention that things have happened, and for the sake of the person who has started this whole thing, I am not going to address that person in particular. Out of their wishes, they want to be completely out of this, and I completely understand. And also, I just want to say up front, I do not blame them for making a post at all. They should be able to do so. Since they made that post, it has caused some things to stir, and the only reason why it hasn't gotten any bigger is because it was completely snuffed out by the person who started it. Point being, there is a lot of anger. The question is, why is that anger there? Why is that disappointment there? And why is the community as a whole so fragile to this type of stuff? Well, there is a simple solution. The community as a whole is sensitive to criticism. Now, personally, I never really got this feeling. This is mainly an observation. I believe that I have built up enough of a community that we can talk about these things, the flaws of Girls Frontline, and not have any particular issues. Everyone is mature enough, and I think that is because I have built my platform to be like that. I want people to come into my community and actually say bad stuff so that we can talk about it. I do it all the time. I do get pushback. And even though I do get pushback, I don't condemn the person for actually pushing back. We just have a conversation. Sometimes I get stonewalled. Sometimes I stonewall back. That's the way how debate and criticism works. I love that stuff. But most people don't. And there is a reason for that. It's because, it's two reasons. The first reason is that we want to love the things that we love. We don't want to hate the things that we love. And I know that sounds kind of silly. That may even sound obvious. But the point is that people have a hard time criticizing things, but then loving it afterwards and knowing about its flaws. That is not just a thing that is in Girls Frontline. That's a thing in basically all media, and honestly, the majority of things in general. I say the population as a whole has lost their ability to debate and be devil's advocate without ruffling a few feathers. So what I'm going to do instead here is I am going to lay out the criticisms of Girls Frontline in general that I've seen most people have. The first is the origin point. I'm going to talk about the guy who started the whole thing, but not in much detail because I talked about him so much. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, there are the resources to know. But the whole NTR drama thing is what caused Girls Frontline 2 to start off with a very bad foot. China is not talking about Girls Frontline 2 because the audience that it had is now much smaller. No one can decide about it anymore. It does have a dedicated play base over there, but it is at a point where only a few people in China are playing Girls Frontline 2. Japan, Korea, and Global are the ones that are holding up the game. So that was the beginning. How is it now? Well, things have vastly improved, but it is not there yet. Instead, what we're having is a case where we have retcon after retcon. The pacing is completely off. And this has started to cause people to get tired of waiting for the good stuff to happen. We're currently in a phase where we're in side quest after side quest, after side quest after side quest. And people are just waiting for things to happen. And people are just getting tired of waiting. Side note, but this is not just happening in Girls Frontline 2 either. It's also happening in Girls Frontline 1, but in a different way. The ending, as I talked about on this channel before, the ending for Girls Frontline 1 was bad. In fact, it was so bad that they retconned it out of existence, and now we're at a point where we don't know if Ghost Frontline 1 is ending or if it's going to carry on forever again. And this has caused mass confusion in the Ghost Frontline 1 community as well. Although the majority of people are glad that they retconned the ending, it has left us at a point of uncertainty. Ghost Frontline 2 is a sequel to Ghost Frontline 1, so the information from Ghost Frontline 1 is extremely important, which is why it kind of needs to end at some point. Because the more new information that comes out in Ghost Frontline 1, the more things that Ghost Frontline 2 has to address. So hopefully at some point, we do get somewhere that things become more coherent. And the next thing is that, if we talk about the gameplay for a little bit, the gameplay is just not hitting for most people. When I say most people, I mean people who play the game every day and they want to do in-game stuff. Can we just, as a community, just admit that Gunsmoke Frontline is just not good? I am personally tired of Gunsmoke's Frontline. I think it's really bad. The only reason why people play it is because they feel like that they're forced to in order to make their guild happy. And then there's other modes that are good, but at the same time, they're samey. There's not really a lot going on with the gameplay right now, and that does need to be addressed at some point. But for now, that is a minor thing compared to the story. I think if you're playing Ghost Frontline, it's mainly for the story. The story captivated you in some way, and you stay particularly because you want to see what happens to the characters, what happens to the world, what's going on, and how you want to see how things end. But since we're at a point where nothing's really happening, it's causing people to get drained. It's causing people to look at things from a different light, and it's causing people to get more disappointed. So of course they're going to poke holes at things because they're just bored. So I have a solution for this, and it's a very simple solution, but it's also a solution that is a tough pill to swallow for most people, from what I understand. And that is to play other games. The reason why there is so much pushback on this idea is because people don't want their viewpoint to be changed from other perspectives. If you play Ghost Frontline and then you decide to play, let's do it in these example. Let's say you decide to play Honkai Star Rail, and somehow you end up liking Honkai Star Rail a lot. Now, when you go back to Ghost Frontline, you don't have that same love for Ghost Frontline as you did before. And that is a scary prospect for most people. But this is also extremely important to do, because the only way that things can improve is if you get the perspective of other games and other stories and other gameplay models. Ghost Frontline is a medium. It is a franchise. It's a game. It's not your life. So you should be able to look at yourself and say, hey, I like things other than Ghost Frontline. I don't have to defend it so much. We can accept the criticisms of Ghost Frontline. And by accepting these criticisms, we can also find ways to make it better. And if we find ways to make it better, now I'm not going to say that we will actually make those changes because we're not the developers, and also we're a Western player base. And since we are a Western player base, that means our reach is not that great. But the point being is that we should be able to talk about the bad stuff and recognize the bad stuff without losing our love for the game. And if you are at a point where you're feeling that burnout, it's mainly caused by two things. One, you are refusing to eject. You are refusing to play other stuff. You are refusing to read other stuff. You are refusing to watch other stuff. And you have to. It is so good for yourself. It is such a good thing to expand your horizons, to keep your options open. Like for me in particular, this may be a Ghost Frontline channel, but I have videos where I dabble in other things, primarily Nikkei, but also FDR Restart, Weathering Waves, Brown Dust 2, yada, yada, yada. And all this stuff has allowed me to have a wider perspective. And that's why I can make these criticisms and Not just criticisms, by the way. That's why I can also highlight the reasons why I love Ghost Frontline so much. Because as it stands right now, currently Ghost Frontline is my number one gacha game. It used to be Nikkei. They go back and forth. But I can also recognize that a game like Wuthering Waves is doing a lot of things right. And pragmatically speaking, is probably the best gacha game market right now. And by the way, it doesn't even have to be gacha games. They can be normal games too. Expedition 33, still a fantastic game. I still recommend it to everyone. That is a game that literally every gamer should play. It's 10 out of 10, one of the best RPGs I ever played in my life, which is fantastic news. Modern games are now getting awesome again, and hopefully they can keep it up. But I want to end with this. It is okay to be dissatisfied with things that you love. It is okay to step away from things that you love. Like with having a partner, you don't want to be with them 24/7. You just don't. You want to have a few hours with your homies and then talk about things that you wouldn't talk about with your partner. But you still want to be with your partner at the end of the day. You can get tired of things, and it is such a bad thing to ignore that element of humanity. So please, for the love of God, play other games. Give Ghost Frontline a break if you really are at that breaking point and you're burnt out. Detox, expand your horizons, have fun with other stuff. Come back later with a fresh perspective, and maybe by the time you come back, things are way better and the story finally kicks off into something that we can all enjoy. Just some food for thoughts. Hope this helps.